Hello, my name is Mederic and this is a message from Med. Last week, Med and I discussed the 12th chapter of 1st Samuel. Samuel resigned from his position as the official leader of Israel, but he said that he would continue praying for and teaching the nation. He told them to be faithful to God because if you do wickedly, you shall be swept away, both you and your king. In this chapter, Saul goes to war against the Philistines. Will he let God guide him, or does he think that he no longer needs God to win his battles? This particular story will conclude in the next chapter, so make sure you subscribe so that you do not miss out on what will happen to the Israelites. In his second year as king, Saul chose 3,000 men to make up his army. He kept 2,000 men in Michmash and 1,000 with Jonathan, his son, in Gibeah of Benjamin. Jonathan attacked and defeated a Philistine garrison, and Saul blew the trumpet so that all would know that Israel was officially at war against the Philistines. All gathered in Gilgal. The Philistines also gathered their army, like the sand on the seashore in multitude. When the Israelites saw the Philistine army, some hid themselves in caves and holes, and others crossed the river Jordan as they fled the fight. Those who remained were trembling in fear. Samuel told Saul to wait 7 days to offer the sacrifice. If we remember, Samuel called Israel together and offered a sacrifice right before they fought against the Philistines in Mizpah. God then fought for Israel by thundering with a mighty sound that confused the Philistines, and that was how Israel was victorious. When Saul saw that Samuel had not arrived, he offered the sacrifice himself. God's plan was for kings and priests to serve different functions. He gave the responsibility of the tabernacle to the priests and Levites. You shall guard your priesthood for all that concerns the altar. Any outsider who comes near shall be put to death. The king, on the other hand, was in charge of learning the laws, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God by keeping all the words of this law and these statutes and doing them. Samuel arrived at the camp right as Saul was finishing up with the sacrifice, and Saul went out to greet him. When Samuel asked him what he had done, Saul began to give excuses. The people were scattering from me, and you had not yet arrived. The Philistines were about to attack, and I have not yet sought the favor of the Lord. I forced myself to offer the burnt offering. Samuel then cursed Saul. Your kingdom shall not continue, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you. And Samuel left Gilgal. After Saul gave his excuses, Samuel said, You have done foolishly. By saying this, Samuel was emphasizing that Saul had committed a moral and spiritual error by disobeying God. Saul then numbered the people to see how many soldiers he had left, and out of the 3,000 there were 600 left. They then went to Gibeah. The Philistines then dispatched raiders in 3 companies throughout the land of Israel. At the end of the chapter, we learn a very important detail concerning the military technology of the Israelites. The Philistines did not allow the Israelites to have a blacksmith, for they did not want them to be able to forge weapons. In addition, they charged a potentially steep price for sharpening their agricultural tools. The Israelites were so poorly armed that only Saul and Jonathan had swords and spears. When Saul saw that his army was slowly disappearing, he decided to take action and offered the burnt offering. Unfortunately, that is not what Samuel told him to do. Samuel told Saul to wait. We could interpret this by saying, well, I shouldn't do anything at church because if I do, God will punish me. But this is not the case. Saul's responsibility was to learn God's commandments so that he may learn to fear the Lord his God. Either Saul did not know about the law concerning the Levites and the sacrifice, or he chose to ignore it altogether. If we try to take action in our ministry without having a relationship with God, things will not go well. That is why God told Israel from the moment they left Egypt to obey his commandments. Moses also emphasized to the Israelites the importance of repeating the laws to their children and their children's children. Waiting is a difficult task, and it is usually a sign that we have not fully trusted God. Isaiah, after comforting Israel, explained to them that God is great. All the nations are as nothing before him. It is he who sits above the circle of the earth. He brings the princes to nothing and makes the rulers of the earth as emptiness. The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He concludes by encouraging Israel to trust in God so that he may give them strength. 1 Samuel 13 mentions that what caused Saul to hurry and offer the sacrifice was seeing his army desert him. Many soldiers had already left when they saw the great Philistine army, so perhaps Saul began to get nervous when he saw that even more soldiers were disappearing. It seems like he was trying to win the battle with his own strength instead of relying on God. David proclaimed in Psalm 37 that the evildoers will not last forever. Conversely, those who wait for the Lord will inherit the land. He encourages his readers to trust in God because he will take care of them. Furthermore, he states that fretting only leads to evil. Finally, he states the salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. He is their stronghold in time of trouble. The Lord helps them and delivers them. He delivers them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in him. I pray that God helps you to trust in him and not in your own strength. This is the only way to obtain the true victory. Thank you. God bless.